Guys, good Thursday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to the Virginia Wedding and Event Showcase. This presented by Barb and Keswick Vineyards. Barbara Lundgren, the fairy godmother, the star of our show, here shortly. But before we do, and before we welcome Judah Wickhauer, why don't we go to the studio camera, Judah, and you will see Barbara and I about 8 feet and change apart, very safe and socially distanced, and now we get to see the beautiful face behind the mask.
Well, thank you for that.
With Barbara Lundgren. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good. We're great. Yeah, we have a lot going on. Lots going on. You had a headline.
Yeah,
give us the headline.
So about the Ivy League?
Yeah.
So this is interesting, and we were wondering off air, I'll get out of your way, how this could impact the University of Virginia. The Ivy League has now announced that there's going to be no fall sports. That's all sports, not just football. No fall sports this fall. In the Ivy League and in the communities in this league, that certainly will open up a lot of hotel rooms, a lot of sad faces because of that.
Oh, tons of sad
because we love college sports.
We love our college sports.
But if there's a positive for you guys, maybe the hotel rooms?
We've got to find positive.
Right?
We're going to find positive, and that we'll be healthy. So that's the bigger positive.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right, and you have, you educated all of us. It's a big weekend for the industry.
Yeah, we're going to have some bigger weddings this weekend that we're watching, and I'm talking to the venues and the caterers and keeping tabs, and we'll follow up the first of next week on how all that went, and we'll have more news next week. But we've been following lots and lots of conversation with the Virginia Health Department, which has been very confusing, so we're going to cover that today. First, we're going to visit Potter's Craft Cider.
Yes. Love their cider.
Yes, so Lynn Nemett is going to join us here, and she's going to tell us all about the history of Potter's Craft Cider and the new venue that they have, the tasting room, this gorgeous tasting room they have, and how they are going to work into events. They actually have some coming up.
I love it. So, Judah, I'm going to reach out to Caitlin now. In fact, it's ringing. Barb, you grab that headpiece and we'll get you in.
Absolutely.
We have Caitlin on the line, and Caitlin, if we can get you to activate that camera so we can see that beautiful face and that beautiful smile of yours. And Judah,
Sure.
Give me the green light when we can welcome Caitlin. There she is. Oh my goodness gracious, she's radiating right now. Judah is welcoming you to the show as we speak. So Caitlin, I'm going to throw an open-ended question to you and then pass you to Barbara here. First, let's start before we talk and shop. Who are you? Who's Caitlin? What are you all about personally?
Awesome. Well, I am the general manager at Potter's Craft Cider for their new tasting room, which opened last fall in a historic building on 29 South called Neve Hall. So we have been serving our craft cider there since last November. And now we are, hello, Barbara. We are, and I'm here to talk about sort of our foray and expansion into private events and weddings at our space.
I love it, Caitlin. We're so excited to have you here. Barbara has so many good questions for you. What are you thinking, Barbara?
Well, I'd like to hear more about, I was around for certain and trying your cider when it all came about. Tell us a little bit about the history of Potter's Craft Cider.
Absolutely. So Potter's Craft Cider was founded by two friends, Tim Edmund and Dan Potter, who were college buddies that shared a love of home brewing beer. And after college, they kind of both respectively went off to do their corporate careers and got together on the weekends to share their homebrew creations. And after the sort of downturn of 2008, when they both found themselves, a little bit disenchanted with that corporate world, Dan set out to do some farming at Tuckahoe Plantation outside of Richmond. And Tim was in D.C. at the time, and they decided to go for it and do a craft beer company. And that went horribly wrong. The floodplains of the Tidewater that year flooded, so they lost all their crops. And they happened to have put this little tiny carboy of apple cider, fresh apple cider that they fermented aside, and months later sort of recovered it and was like, oh, let's try this. and it was a revelation to them because it was totally dry. They had fermented it so long that all of that sugar was gone. And that really sparked the idea for, instead of beer, let's work on cider. So they spent over a year crafting the recipe, experimenting. They were very scientific with it until they had a formula they really liked and trusted, and that is our farmhouse dry cider. That's our flagship dry Virginia cider. And then they moved the operations to Charlottesville in about 2009 and started making the cider themselves and distributing it by hand around town. So they've grown quite a bit over the last, 9-10 years. And we now make a lot of varieties of cider and distribute all the way up through Maryland, D.C., and down south to North and South Carolina.
Very good. Good stuff.
Yeah.
And you partner with a lot of other wineries. You have your Potter's cider on tap in a lot of other places. I find it everywhere.
We do. Mm-hmm. That's one of the nice things about cider is that it's it can be kegged, so we can serve it on draft. We also do bottles and cans. We've been doing a lot more canned cider just for the portability of it. And we Potter's has always been put a high emphasis on collaboration in the community. So we've done a lot of different collaborative ciders with different breweries and other cideries, wineries. We do barrel exchanges with Virginia Distillery Company to do we do a lot of cask aging and barrel aging of certain ciders. Our head cider maker is Andy Hannes, and he's just got endless ideas and really taps into traditional and craft cider making techniques, which are very similar to winemaking techniques.
The label is so unique, and it moved right into the venue that you now have, which is this gorgeous chapel. So tell us how all of that happened.
Sure, yeah. So the tasting room is, like I said, it's a 100-year-old stone church that is called Neve Hall, and it was built in the 1920s by the Episcopalian mission church. The mission was to bring reform and education to a lot of the more rural mountain communities around central Virginia. And this reverend from England came over on a mission to do this. And so his name was Frederick Neve, and he built, I want to say, over 30 different schools and churches up and down this area. And this was the church and the home that was built for him to live in. So it was a functioning church until the 1940s, and then it was abandoned for a period of time and then purchased by a local artist and his family. That man was named Jim Hagan, and he was a professor of art at UVA for decades. He was kind of a figure there in the art world. The best representation of his work around town are the black silhouette statues on the downtown wall.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that is the work of Jim Hagan, and so this was his home, and he raised 3 children there, and they lived there until the children sold that property to Potter's Craft Cider in 2018. So there was a lot of work to do, it being such an old building and being a residential home. So it was an extensive renovation that Tim and Dan, the co-owners, really took every detail and step of that renovation very carefully.
Nice.
So it really does, it's the first permanent retail space that Potter's has had. And it was totally worth the wait because it really matches our personality in terms of being kind of approachable, but still interesting, rustic, warm. And it's just a beautiful, beautiful building. Architecture is incredible and the land is incredible. So it gives us a lot of opportunity.
Great answer.
Yeah. So do we have any pictures that we can show from the website? It is gorgeous.
We do. So we'll put those pictures on screen now.
Great. So it's not only the tasting room, and it's so convenient to Charlottesville. It's 10 minutes from downtown? Exactly. So that's
10 minutes.
That's a great perk. Yeah.
Absolutely. And when people hear 29 South, I think they think oh, you're really headed out of town, but it is extremely close to
Yeah.
town. 10 minutes, absolutely.
Yeah. Close to me. Yay.
Barbara.
So when all this construction came about, what creativity there is in those, and you can see it in the photos. I haven't gotten a chance to visit yet, but I can't wait. But now you are going to get into some events. You have some things coming up this weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we are. We're slowly reopening our operations and taking things sort of step by step. So this Friday, from 5 to 8, is our first reintroduction of live music, which we did a lot of when we first opened, and for the first 4 months that we were open. So we are going to have live music, and Blue Ridge Pizza food truck is going to be there as well. So it'll be a real
Good.
party.
And who might be playing? Who's playing?
Adam Larrabee.
Nice.
Yeah.
Great.
So, and I'm not sure if he's doing, he is so talented. He can do jazz. He can do bluegrass. I don't know which venue, which genre he's chosen yet, but he will be performing on our back porch since we're doing primarily still outdoor seating. And we're testing out the waters there for expanding our operating hours a little bit later as we used to.
Great. And you're good for weddings and smaller events, rehearsal dinners. So what do you have coming up?
Yeah, rehearsal dinners and smaller events are great to fit inside our interior space. But we do have a huge lawn. We actually just were discussing with Skyline Tent about the capacity on our lawn, and we can fit their largest tent on our lawn, which seats I think 300 people.
Wow.
So for all outdoor events, for big weddings, there's still possibility. And if you want something more intimate and to keep it inside, if that rain plan stresses you out, then it's perfect for 100 people or less can fit inside really nicely.
Perfect. That's great.
Yeah.
So you told me that you didn't open in phase 1, but you opened in phase 2. Now going into phase 3. So it looks like you're handling that well with this coming weekend. Yeah. So that's looking good. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. We definitely wanted to be as cautious as necessary and watch and learn and see what worked and make sure that everything we were doing was, really keeping people safe and keeping our staff safe.
Great, good. And tell us a little bit more about Caitlin. So you had a mentor?
Yes. So in the events world, I grew up in Albemarle County. I grew up in Ivy and went through Meriwether, Lewis, Henley, and Western Albemarle High School. And when I got married, I came back here to get married and got married in 2009 at Veritas. And Sean Cosette of Beehive Events.
Absolutely, yeah.
She was my floral designer, event designer, day of coordinator. And we really bonded. And I said to her, and this was years before I really got into events, like, this is so fun. I love this. I really could see doing this all the time. And she said, well, if you're ever serious about that, let me know. And when I permanently moved back to Charlottesville in 2013, we had lunch and she said, come on board, let's work together. So I was sort of her right-hand lady for a year or so at Beehive Events, just helping with a lot of the organization and production of her business.
Oh, you had the best. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, an incredibly talented woman. And so just learning the event industry, tagging along after her was an invaluable experience. So
Awesome. And are you passing that on?
Good question.
Challenge you a little bit.
I will think about that. Yes, I do. And even just learning through, it's hard to learn an aesthetic eye kind of approach. And so I think that Sean taught me so much in how to style a table or look at a room and figure out if it's all working. So even just in the general day-to-day tasting room, kind of how do we how do we set up the tables? How do we get the flow going? I think that still influences me all the time. So
Great.
absolutely.
What else you want to tell us?
Oh gosh. Come visit the tasting room. It's really a special place.
It's beautiful.
Especially it's nice and warm out. We have really lovely patios and gardens. We are exploring the idea of building an outdoor stage actually on our lawn so that we can do more outdoor music. And even because we have such an expansive lawn with COVID restrictions and trying to be safe, we can even sort of grid out our lawn into 10 by 10 squares so people can have a separate plot and put a blanket down and hear some bands and do some cool outdoor music stuff. So we're certainly not slowing down. There's a lot more in our future, coming up.
I got a question for her.
Great.
Caitlin, I'm going to throw this to you here. So we're a platform of hope, and I think every small business in this community, once COVID first hit, was super scared and uncertain and fearful of what was going to happen. That's just human nature. Can you give us the flip book of emotions at Potter's and how you overcame that fear and now are rising to the occasion like Potter's always does?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you sort of hint at, Jerry, the first page of that flip book was sort of the fear, but also I think the certainty that we needed to shut down. I think once it became clear that was the only choice, that was easy. And then the scramble for the next week or so was, how do we get cider to people? How do we continue, our business? And we have some super talented people on our team who move and think quick. So we were able to roll out a curbside delivery at our tasting room every Saturday. We've been doing curbside for a while. And then we were able to also expand our shipping options. So instead of being able to just ship in Virginia, we're now able to ship to 39 different states. So that ability was very cool. It's something we wanted to do for a while. So it's a good lesson in how, sort of in adversity, there is a lot of opportunity too. So now we can, friends in New York or California, or you can send gifts to friends and relatives out of state, which is pretty awesome.
I love hearing that. She's basically saying now that they're reopening, their business is potentially stronger than ever because, Caitlin, you got this new opportunity that you've perfected over the last 60, 90 days, whatever it may be, and you can continue doing it. So that's certainly a positive, right, Caitlin?
Oh, absolutely. Definitely. And even, sort of the idea of doing a pickup and local delivery are things that we've, had to adopt because of COVID, but I think they bring a lot of value to everyone, including our business. So we're certainly exploring, how much we can sustain keeping that. We do a Richmond delivery now. We have a good fan base in Richmond. So I think it's opened up a lot of different connective tissue that we hope to continue with.
That's great. I can't wait to come out and see you. So, you've gotten me excited. I mean, just seeing the pictures gets me excited. It's so pretty.
It's a pretty magical space.
Yeah. So we will see you soon. Thank you so much.
Great.
And
thank you so much.
You
Barb.
rocked this, and we will see you very, very soon for sure.
Great.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Thank you so much. All right. And Barb, if you want to pull that out of your ear real quick, I'll get to Ray here. This is the challenges and tribulations of being 8 feet apart for social distancing purposes.
Yeah.
Caitlin crushed it. Potter's is awesome. And I love, before we go to Ray, I'll pass this to you, Barbara. I love the history of the building because it is very much tied to like that fabric of that brand. That brand has great history behind it. That brand has phenomenal cider. That brand is all about kind of like the identity of this building it's in. It's a match made in heaven.
It is. I mean, the flow from just the I don't know when the building came in, but the label was already there. It just fit. It was really cool. Really cool.
And aren't you impressed with how they've grown?
Oh, absolutely.
I see it everywhere.
Well, and when they first hit the scene in Charlottesville, everybody was on it. It was just they just did a great job from the get-go. They're great guys.
And why don't we highlight? We're lucky to have quality cider in this area.
Everywhere.
Right?
Everywhere.
Castle Hill,
Castle Hill,
Bold Rock,
and Albemarle Cider Works. Oh, yeah, one of the first.
One of the first.
Yeah. Yep. So
Lucky.
they're all good.
Especially
They're all
for summertime.
Perfect for summertime.
What's Barb drinking in the
Picnic.
summer?
I love my cider.
Me too, Barbara.
Yeah, that's the light afternoon, let's kick it after I cut the grass kind of thing.
Barbara cuts the grass?
Oh, yeah.
I
I've
want to
got
see
a lot
you
of
cut
grass
the
to
grass.
cut.
I heard you do.
Oh, yeah.
How long does that take you?
About 3 hours, but then there's weed eating and all of that great stuff.
The fun stuff of home ownership?
Yeah.
I'll reach out to Ray Caddell. When I get Ray on the line here, what are some of the items you want to highlight with Ray?
Well, I brought my props, so I pulled out the ducks because I don't know if you can see them. I'm not seeing the camera. We're getting our ducks in a row. So I dusted off the ducks, as you can see. We have the bride and the groom and the officiant and their cake.
I love them. I love the ducks. Barbara's got props.
So this is where we get our ducks in a row, and that's what we're doing right now. Is we're getting our ducks in a row for phase 3. There's also another duck story that we have, and if you know Kelly Epley, we did. He was one of our officiants once, and he gave us the greatest compliment. He said, "You guys are just like ducks. You're calm on the surface and just paddling like crazy under the water." So he gave us that.
I love the ducks.
Those are our duck stories.
Jude, I have Ray Caddell on the line.
Yeah.
Ray, will go to you here. I'm going to pass you to Barbara, but before we do, Ray Caddell, a lot of news that we need to get to. My friend, what have you been following so far since the last week we talked?
What have I been following?
Yes, sir.
You can't even keep up. Everywhere you look, there's something interesting. I have close to home. I have a daughter who is getting ready to start her 4th year at the University of Mary Washington. So I'm following all this stuff. Interestingly, with colleges all over the country, about how they're going to address this. Mary Washington was kind enough to send the parents a 47-page report.
Wow.
About how they're going to do it. I think in my family, that's what we're worried about right now, or following very closely right now. What's going to happen with education? I watched your show yesterday. I forgot her name. I'm so sorry. She's very impressive, the school teacher.
Shannon Gillikin.
Yeah. And Jerry, you and I have talked about this before. Up until now, nobody's really talked about the child care issue. If you have 2 kids and the husband puts the tires on the car that you bought at Costco, puts the tires on your car, and the wife is an assistant manager at the 7-Eleven, they're just not really in a position to deal with their children at home during the school year on any kind of wacko schedule.
Right.
I mean, somebody needs to tell these people what to do so they can plan for it. I have clients who just bought a house from me that have a new baby, and they're paying $900 a month for childcare. It's been a long time since I have had a child. My youngest is 20, but that just seems like a whole lot of money to me.
That's a lot of money.
And I'm not. So I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about the educational part of things. I've been thinking about. And there's really no nice way to say this. No matter how much effort the parents put into the last semester of working with their children at home, no matter how organized the school system was, any school system or private school or anything, to deliver that information, let's face it, mom's probably not in a position to teach AP chemistry to her kid at the kitchen table. So the reality of it is, and it's certainly not their fault, and I don't want to say this in a pejorative way at all, but the reality of it is our students, many of our students from kindergarten to PhD, are a whole semester stupider than they're supposed to be right now. So how are we adjusting for that? If your mom was supposed to teach you Algebra 1 and that didn't go so well, how's Algebra 2 going to go in September when the prerequisite wasn't covered completely? I am worried. Of course, I'm worried about any of us getting sick, but I'm really worried about how we're going to try to make that up, because I don't think you can make it up. I think, somebody needs to stand up and say, wait a minute, we're behind. Why are we going to pretend we're not behind? And why don't we just change the calendar a little or a lot?
Yeah. Yeah.
And if your children are going to be taught, and believe me, I am all with the teachers. I love teachers. And I'm all with the teachers worried about how's somebody going to keep them safe. And I understand their problems. And I understand Virginia's a right to work state, or we'd be hearing a lot more about it from the teachers union. But we've got to figure something out, all of us,
Amen.
Together. And I don't hear much talk about that. I see, plans and reports, and here's what we're going to do. But this is a completely different paradigm than we've ever dealt with for public or private education, and I don't think we're ready for it. So those are the two things I'm looking at.
Okay, well, you shared with me yesterday, we'll flip back over to our jobs, or lack thereof.
I was going to say, do we have jobs?
Exactly. But you shared with me yesterday that you had yet some changes in your fall and up to, New Year's schedules?
I did. I had a couple of, in case there's somebody watching that doesn't know me, I'm a band leader, and I have a couple other bands.
Yeah, we do need to tell some people who you are.
Most people know. I watch your show. And I passed, in January, I passed my 1,500th wedding reception that I performed at. So I really thought I had this thing down. I had it figured out. It was working like a Swiss watch. Everything was wonderful. And then this happened. So the first thing that happened was everybody said, oh man, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Then the next thing that happened was people started saying, well, I want to reschedule. So, I have people that have rescheduled from March to June, from June to September, from September to next September. I mean, and Barb, you have the exact same thing. We have people we've rescheduled three times already.
All of us have been doing it, yep.
But yesterday, I had 3 calls in the same day, and at least they're not crying now. For a while there, before this really hit home, every day a crying bride or her mother would call me. It wasn't any fun. So, but yesterday, what happened? 3 interesting things happened. One, which I thought was maybe the most interesting of all, a bride called me and she said, will you play my reception no matter where it is?
Wow.
And I said, I don't know, probably. Why do you ask? She said, I'm having trouble with the venue. This is an October wedding. I'm having trouble with the venue allowing me some things that I want to do and the number of guests that I want to have, which they've already committed to. And Barb and I can talk about this guest thing in a minute. She said, so I want to do it in my grandparents' backyard. Will you come? I said, do you have a tent and a generator? She said, if that's what you tell me I need, that's what we'll have. I said, well, we'll be there.
Wow.
So that was the first thing that happened. The next thing that happened was I got an October, a date that said, give me your open dates in October. I said, I don't really have any Fridays or Saturdays open in October right now. What did you have in mind? They said, oh, next October. So they have moved their wedding from, and there's a lot of this going on. They're going to have a little ceremony in their backyard. They're going to elope, and they're going to have the big party a year from now, next October. Well, there's a couple problems with that. First of all, they have to figure out how to make the matrix work and match up my schedule and their planner and the vendor and the tent guy and everything else. But the other problem is they wanted to move to a Saturday in October, which, by the way, is the biggest wedding month anymore, not June, it's October, nationwide. And while I had it open for them, there really wasn't any chance I was going to be open. So I gave them that Saturday, and now it's gone. So now instead of working a wedding for them this October and a wedding for somebody else next October. I'm just getting one instead of two, so clearly I'm working for half price.
Yep.
Man.
And
Yeah.
and because this is not, let's say everything ends in 2020 and we're just going to go into 2021 with a clean slate, and that'll be great. We're not going into 2021 with a clean slate. We are getting our brains beat in for a lot of 2021 based on things that we've had to move from 2020. And then I have 3 huge New Year's Eve jobs for my bands. One is 26 pieces, one is 22 pieces, one is 12 pieces. They are big, big, big shows with big, big, big price tags on
Which
them.
is why we call you Big Ray.
Yeah.
By the way.
I guess.
Yeah.
And my client, one of my clients called yesterday and said, we can't do this.
Man.
We're not going to be able to have 1,500 people in the room. We don't know if they're going to want to come anyway. We're going to have to rethink this whole thing. So that's the first time it really smacked me in the face that my New Year's Eve, it's not in jeopardy. It's dead.
So where do they leave it, Ray? Where do they leave it with that?
Well, it's way too long a conversation for this venue, but they're a very, 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 very good client of mine. And we left it at figure out what you want to do, and I'll make it happen.
Got it.
Some of those other 2 jobs, I often bring people in on special occasions that are not full-time members of great party bands. Those people will probably lose their opportunity. I think I can probably wiggle this all around and make sure everybody that's close to me works that night, because it's a big night. You know, New Year's Eve is well, in my world it's triple pay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's to answer your question, this thing ain't over yet, and it's not so good. Barb knows because she was on a meeting last night with me. I have a Zoom meeting every Wednesday of band leaders from all over the country. And it's so different depending on where you're from. The Virginia guys are like, man, I wonder if we're ever going back to work again. The Georgia people, and you heard Eddie talk, the older African-American gentleman talk last night about he has to go back this weekend, and the precautions that he's going to take, which include barriers in front of the stage, a full face mask for him and some of the older guys in the band, plexiglass shields 6 feet stood on end. I mean, this is
Takes a lot of the fun.
This
out
is
of-
serious, yeah.
It takes a lot of fun.
Oh yeah,
out
we
of it.
don't we don't have any idea what we're doing. We're just sort of trying to figure it out as we go along. Some of those Deep South band leaders have been to work already on wedding receptions, and what they're reporting back to us on Wednesday nights is the guests are not playing by the rules.
Sure.
And the few guests that are playing by the rules, the bride doesn't want them to play by the rules because she wants the party that she's dreamed of since she was a little girl. She wants everybody dancing and carrying on and having a good time. She don't want all the pictures to have people with ugly masks on. It's hard. As Barbara gets back to work, she's starting to deal with this.
What would you do there, Barb? What would you do with that, Barbara?
So what we are doing is discussing all that we can do as vendors. And as you know, and we have discussed, Phase 3 went into effect with this, what was it, 30-some pages of guideline that did not, was 43. Okay, thank you. I've looked at so many documents, I can't remember.
yeah.
But there was no clear direction for us as venues, weddings, and events. It was vague. It was addressing restaurants, and it was addressing larger events, in a stadium or something like that.
Well, and that's the whole point. That's what they are calling a wedding now.
And yeah, so they
Entertainment event.
And instead of the health department, which they should have done, coming to some wedding professionals and saying, "Hey, what do you need?" They just took everyone's calls and they were flying by the seat of their pants with their answers. And so everyone's out freaking out about, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to be fined. I can't do this. There's no way we can do this. And my brides are now we're going to have more cancellations." Everyone's freaking out. So we've been coming down in the last week with, there's now a new number with Virginia Department of Health that I want to give out to everyone, should you need them.
Oh, Lord.
Now now they answer the calls, and they seem to be getting on the same page with their answers. But
So Barbara gave me that phone number yesterday.
yeah,
So the first,
and we all
the first
called
thing
it
first thing I
with
did
the
was
same
call.
questions to see what we would
And
get.
sure enough,
We tested it.
a guy answered the phone, and I asked him some pretty specific questions about weddings, and it was interesting, Jerry. I said, "Tell me about the number of people." He said, "You can have 250 people, or 50% of what the certificate of occupancy says." So that means you'd have to get to 250 in Charlottesville, for instance, you need to have a room that has a CO of 501. Well, let me tell you something. I've played every single room in Charlottesville for a lot of years. There is not a ballroom of any type in this town that has 501 seats. So the 250 is it's like it doesn't even exist. It's ridiculous. And then I asked them, because Barbara and I have been talking about this for a long time, I said, the number of people that mathematically we determined to be allowed in there, I said, does that include the band? Does that include the waiters? Does that include Barbara? Does that include the florist? Does that include people that work at the venue? Tell me what that includes. And I'll never forget this. He said, sir, that includes everybody that has a pulse.
Oh, my goodness.
Right. So we have to
Wow.
deduct that from the head count that's
Right.
coming in for the couple. Sad.
Yeah.
Very sad. Yeah.
And how many people at a wedding,
So-
people at a wedding of 250 people that service the wedding? You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Not
it
guests.
depends on if you have a band or a DJ.
Okay.
Because if he's bringing 26 pieces, hey.
That's 10% right there.
Right. And if it's a DJ, it's one, maybe two. And then, but it depends on the number of people you're serving as to how many wait staff you have.
Uh-huh.
And it's juggled all
and the
over.
type of service. Is
The
it a
type
plated
of
dinner?
service,
Buffet?
exactly.
Is it, it's
It's a juggling act. So I lost my train of thought. Go
And let
ahead.
me say one more thing. So I said to the guy, I said, so who does the Commonwealth of Virginia see as the person that's supposed to make sure all this is happening? He said, we're going to everybody. He
Right.
said, certainly the venue owner or operator, certainly the planner. He said, you're a band guy? He said, absolutely the band. He said, it's your job to make sure that social distancing occurs on the dance floor, if you even have a dance floor. Well, that's going to be pretty hard. So this is 51 years now. I've been trying really hard to keep people on the dance floor.
So to clarify certificate of occupancy, I have learned from farm wineries, they don't have a certificate of occupancy.
Interesting.
I
Now,
got that email from you today.
Right.
Let's touch on that for a second, because
So
that's important here.
that,
And this,
right, so certain wineries, they're, as a farm winery, they may not have a
CO.
certificate of occupancy, the CO. So there's some freedom there.
Interesting.
So it has to be each venue that is telling us what we can and cannot do. I can't just say, oh, they allow, originally they allowed this many people and this is what we're going to do. I have to speak to every venue and to figure it out. And
some of the venues have their own rules.
Exactly.
And they're more restrictive than
right.
the Commonwealth.
And as we were speaking to some of the band guys last night, one of their, not in Virginia, but one guy said, oh, they're not allowing a dance floor, so what is he going to do? He gets fired, So they're not going to allow a dance floor. So what we have to do is, and what I was told at my phone call to the health department yesterday, our due diligence. We are doing what we do on our end. So I'll use the DJ or band as the example. So good communication up front with the couple. They may be signing off. I mean, everyone's trying to come up with some kind of sign off, whether it be a liability piece or that contact tracer piece, something like that. Adequate signage. So one of the DJs yesterday gave me this piece that's going to go up in front of his display.
Very clear.
You know, and it's and he might have the plastic pieces up in front of him, and that's up there. They're wearing masks. The caterers are wearing gloves. Hand sanitizer is handy. The venues have to have hand sanitizer and hand washing stations extra. And this is all costly.
Oh my
okay?
gosh,
We're
seriously.
already,
Right.
We've lost money everywhere.
And it's just not the vision that the
No,
poor young
no,
woman had in
it's
mind
not.
for her.
So, and thus more cancellations, more delays on their weddings, and making announcements that we have to go through the couple so that you make proper announcements. And then the health department yesterday tells me, be creative, put 6 feet tapes on the floor. And so we put 6-foot tapes on the dance floor. If they don't follow it, at least we've done our part.
Sure.
So those are things that we're trying to do in addition
But how
to
interesting-
catering and their part.
How interesting that the Commonwealth is just going after everybody.
Right.
You know, and the guy I talked to yesterday said the same thing. He said, "You better be proactive about this."
Every
He said,
vendor,
if there's
every
too many
vendor,
people on the
absolutely.
dance floor, you better stop the song and say, "Folks, I'm sorry, you're too close. There's too many people on the dance
Get
floor."
out.
And
So-
again, I don't think that's what the girl in the white dress had in mind for me doing.
And Ray, you and I like a lot of the same things. We like a good drink. We're both a little mischievous, and we like to have fun. I mean, you are a guy that brings people together. You're like the sunshine when you walk in the room. Are you going to say, get off the dance floor to these people?
Well, it's an interesting question. I spoke because I'm starting to get a little nervous. So I spoke both with my attorney and I spoke with my liability insurance carrier. And they said, yeah, I am going to be that guy that tells people, take it easy.
Wow.
Let's think about this. Not too many people all at once. We last week on our meeting with the guys from all over the country, and women, by the way, I said, what about this? What about if we sort of move the dance floor metaphorically, musically? What if we play, I don't know, Unforgettable by Nat and Natalie Cole, and those kind of people will come out, and then maybe we'll play a Lady Gaga song, and then maybe we'll play September from Earth, Wind, and Fire. I mean, this is so alien, particularly to wedding band leaders,
Right.
because it's not a concert. Our job is to stand up there, to feel the crowd, to try to figure
them to
out what
dance.
they want, and to give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to say I'm not looking forward to it. I will tell you it's going to be difficult.
How about the outside piece, Ray? Do we see potentially the outside venue being leveraged more than the inside to solve this conundrum?
I think venues
way.
that have an outside possibility during good weather are in a huge plus. The limit on that is 1,000 people.
Wow.
They're not considered a building.
Right.
Even if they're a tent, if they don't put all sides on, then they are not considered a building. So
'Cause there's
they
a
are
lot
at
of venues that can do
advantage.
that here.
Yes. Yes.
Well, for a few months.
That's true. That's true.
Right.
When you put a tent up, there's a CO for it. There's an occupancy load on that tent, even though you're outside. I was stunned to get that email from you today saying farm wineries don't have certificate of occupancies on their buildings that they're
Again,
having events.
I'm going to every venue that I'm working with, and
Yeah,
again, I have to go to every vendor for the wedding and say,
Sure.
what are you doing? We need to do this, and we have to work as a team, and we aren't going to put it just on the venue. It's on all of us.
Well, look, I'm depressing myself.
Yeah.
So let's talk
Well-
talk about good stuff.
Well,
People are still gonna get married.
we're trying to help out our colleagues here, but you know,
I'm trying to ignore all that.
Ray Caddell.
okay.
Here's and we talk about this all the time in my meetings. So I last worked on March the 6th. The next performance I have that it has not been postponed or in some cases canceled is September the 19th.
Man.
We are so excited for those people. They called the other day. They're getting married, Barb, at Salamander in Middleburg. They called the other day. They said, just want to make sure you're showing up. I said, we might show up 3 or 4 days early. We're ready.
Right.
It's, we're trying to rehearse over the internet. It's going to be an interesting time as we start getting into the real wedding season. There's some people sort of slipping and sliding in and some smaller events and things like that. And I think that's great. I am getting calls for next year. They actually stopped for a little while too. And then people started thinking, well, I am getting married next July. I guess I better call the band or call the venue or something. So hopefully as we get a handle on this COVID-19 thing, I don't know if it's ever going to come back to normal. What we thought of as normal, but it'll get better.
So there were a few things in the air, some rumors that there had been. You can go to the Virginia Department of Health website and lodge a complaint anonymously, and so we were hearing that this had been done and some vendors had been fined.
Really?
That was a rumor.
Okay.
I mean, we talked to the Virginia Department of Health yesterday. Ray asked, I asked, and to their knowledge, no one has been fined at this point.
But they are
looking
that
at
anonymous email thing. The Virginia Department of Health is saying, we want to hear from you.
But they seem to be compassionate to, looking at all angles and investigating any situation.
Because they're in uncharted territory, too.
Absolutely.
Everyone is.
Everyone
and they don't
is.
have the resources to police
this. Right. There are too many questions. And again, all I can say is our due diligence, we do what we need to do. We all need to work as a team, as vendors. And then we work with the couple, they work with their guest, and hopefully we all come out okay here. And
Barbara, I know you'll be horrified by this, but do you know 20% of the time, even on events with a band my size, which automatically means a big event and big money, sometimes there's no planner.
Right, I know.
Just no plan, or there's a day of planner.
The day of planner doesn't know what's going on.
Follows the bride around and make sure her makeup looks good.
Right.
We flew to Palm Beach the day after that big hurricane they had down there. I guess that's 2 years ago now. And I walked into the venue, and the chef came up. It was about 2 p.m, and the chef came up. He said, "What time do you want to eat?" I said, "We're the band. We don't care what." I said, "I'd love to eat before everything gets started." So
that's what I love about his bands. I mean, bands aren't always that way. So.
Well, the rest of them are
He's
wrong.
Flexible.
I learned that. Hopefully, you'll ask me that mentor question because I learned it from that guy. But I said, he said, no, what time do you want your guest to eat? I said, no, I'm the planner. I'm the band guy. He said, you're the planner. I said, they spent $25,000 flying a 12-piece band and all our equipment to Palm Beach, Florida, and they don't have a planner? And they didn't. So that's what I'm waiting for as I'm working my way through this. Or even worse than no planner, mother of the bride is the planner. Listen, they're always charming. They're always organized. That's why they think they can do it. Everything goes great until all of a sudden it's the evening of the event and she wants to be the mother of the bride, and the bartender and the waitress got in a fight because they've been living together and somebody got caught cheating and they just quit. And I mean, that stuff happens. I mean, it's real life. That stuff happens.
All the stories.
So that's Barbara's duck analogy.
Yeah.
That's why she's paddling all the time under the surface, taking care of stuff like that.
Okay, tell us your mentor story.
Sure. So, I was a really lucky guy. I started playing the trumpet in 3rd grade.
Wow.
And I had my elementary school, junior high school, and high school teacher were all band directors. I mean, we're all trumpet players. So that was like really lucky. So I was playing in a band with those guys, a big band, when I was, 14. And the guy that led the band taught me a lot about being a band leader. He was a great musician too, but I learned an awful lot just playing in his sort of weekend band. with a bunch of older guys. And one of the things he said to me was, we used to call it the book. Everybody used to have a big folder that had all your music in it. So he said, make sure you always have in your book a waltz, a cha-cha, and a polka. He said, because someday you'll need it. So that doesn't seem so valid today, but you know it is. And every year, somewhere, somehow, I need a waltz, a cha-cha, and a polka. Not on the same job, of course. And boy, are people impressed when all of a sudden Uncle Bob is from Pittsburgh and we can play a polka and it sounds right. So those are the kinds of things. That's what you learn from a mentor. And the best part about that story is, so that was 1965, 6, 7, somewhere in there. And he had a son that was also a very talented musician, and we were both playing together in Dad's band. And so if you fast forward, I can't do the math. If you fast forward to today, the saxophone player in Big Rain at the Cool Cats is that guy's son.
Wow.
Great
From
story.
our home, he comes from Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, where we grow up. He comes to jobs wherever we are. So yeah, that mentor thing is so important, and I love that question that y'all do.
That's a beautiful quote. Beautiful answer.
And of course, he's mentoring
Oh, sure.
all
He's
over the
man.
place.
He's the
all
man.
over the place.
In real estate and music.
Absolutely, yes. He's a
That's
tremendous realtor.
And even fireworks.
We
gotta talk about that. Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Barb and
nice
I have
pivot.
spent a lot of time together the last couple of years.
Thank you, Ray. I think we may have forgotten that.
Yeah,
Thank you, Ray.
I did.
Well, here's the short version. So this is 4 times now, and the first one was 1997. I looked it up. That someone has been called on to say basically that there weren't going to be any fireworks on 4th of July. And all 4 times, Barbara and myself and Tom Powell and back in the old days, a guy named Joe Teague got together and we saved the fireworks. So we had to do it again. We had a little bit of a head start. Bob
Shada.
Shada.
Bob Shada had done this for a year or two, and he was sort of partway down the trail when all of a sudden he had nowhere to have the fireworks. So and Jerry, you were the catalyst for this, I think. So we all got together and figured it out, and we will. Does Jerry get the first shot at the total?
Barbara wants it.
No, not today.
We got to do
Not
it on your
today.
show, Barbara.
Well,
Your show.
We'll see. We're working on it.
Okay.
We're still getting the numbers.
This is
but
positive.
It's going to be big.
Yeah.
It's going to
There's
be
money coming
big.
in. I don't know. It's going to be huge.
It's going to be, yeah.
We are so excited about it because when we said we'll give you whatever's left over,
We thought, yeah,
remember this. We even said, and we promise
$500
if we have to go into
or
our
something.
pocket, we'll make sure it's $500.
We'll make sure it's $500. You're gonna love it.
Oh, no, and I'm going to throw this to you guys. The GoFundMe was so popular online that it was increased in $5,000 thresholds multiple times, and the
Yeah,
community
those-
responded to it.
I know.
It was
I
amazing.
know. It's just, the community, and they loved the show.
It was beautiful.
And immediately, Hunter Wood told us, let's do it again.
Really?
So we are going to do it again. It looks like we're going to do it again.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah.
Well, we're in the very beginning stages of planning that now.
We'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Okay.
So we don't have to scramble at 2 weeks' notice here.
No, we're not going to scramble it.
No, never again. Jerry, you'll like this. The city of Charlottesville is maybe not all that excited about us not bringing the show to McIntyre Park.
Yeah.
The city of Charlottesville wants it back?
They want it in their park in the center of their town.
Sure, of course.
But,
Maybe.
yeah, we don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
But everyone loved it this way.
There's a huge
Yeah.
problem with that. Neither Barbara or Ray will be involved.
Barbara, we're not going to do the.
Not that we don't love the idea of it, but that's a carnival. That's a whole. There should be 20 people planning that thing.
Yeah.
Not
We're
4.
not doing that because we might be working elsewhere.
Right.
I will
Hopefully,
be.
You want to be doing what you love, Barbara.
we do what
I'll
we
be. When
do.
you talk about cancellations, I'll be on Bald Head Island next 4th of July playing the show I was supposed to play this 4th of July. That got canceled or postponed.
So, yeah. So there more to come on the fireworks.
Oh yeah.
I
oh, yeah.
can't wait to hear it.
I know it's coming, but we've just had a
Well,
lot
it's
of
interesting.
to tie up.
When you get I don't even want to say numbers. You can look at the GoFundMe. I mean, it's, the GoFundMe is in excess of $40,000. When you start looking at numbers, and then you figure out they came in $25 at a time.
Right, that's the best part.
Yeah.
Well, with that, I mean, that just, I got chills just saying that. I mean, that really moved my heart to see the community say, yeah, we want this.
It was still coming in on Tuesday.
Right.
This past Tuesday, it was still coming in.
Yep.
Yeah. So thank you, Charlottesville.
We're going to cut it off so we can,
yeah.
so we can start fundraising for next year, so we don't have to do it in 2 weeks.
Ray Caddell. How about a final word, Ray, for everybody that's watching? Anywhere you want to go?
Listen, I don't care what business you're in. The real estate business, the wedding business, the restaurant business, the hotel business, if you can just figure out how to hang on, we're going to be back. We might look a little differently. I think Ray might not be able to have 12 pieces in his band anymore. I don't know. That's a musical luxury that I do for myself. No one pays me anymore for that. I could go to 9 pieces and the price would stay the same. We're going to come back. We're going to come back stronger than ever, I believe, because there'll be such pent-up demand. And if you could just hold on, and it hurts me so much, and I know you too, Jerry, to see what's happening at restaurants in this town. When somebody says to you, you should have a 3-month cushion in your financial life. Well, I think there was a statistic that said less than 10% of America has a 3-month cushion in their financial life. I'll bet it's less than 1% of restaurants. The margins in that business are so tight. And it makes me so sad to see some great restaurants close and say they're not coming back. But except for things like that, if we all get there, if we go out when it's safe, I have not been out. My wife and I get to go a lot to try to help people and help our favorite restaurants. I have bought some gift cards that I'm going to throw away. That's how you can really help a restaurant, by the way. Buy their gift card, don't use it. That makes a lot of sense for them. But we have to find some way for all of us to get together. The government is trying to help. One thing from that Wednesday night group that I have, we all learned together how to get the most income for our out-of-work musicians over this time. Most of our musicians, really all of our musicians, are independent contractors. They're 1099 employees, not W-2, so they're not eligible for everyday unemployment. But we help them navigate their way through that. We just have to help each other. I mean, there's somebody out there that has that answer that you need. All the way down to the food bank. The food bank. Millie from the food bank told me they are seeing 6 times as many different families as they've seen in the past.
Absolutely.
They're seeing all these people that never really knew where the food bank was even, or what it was. Right. I have a cute story about that. A guy was just in my office this morning, and he's a client of mine, and he gives money to the food bank, and he lives out of town. He was just in for a visit, and he gives food to the food bank. And he's a builder, and he's a little shabbily. He's in his work clothes. And he was at the food bank the other day, taking food out of his car to put it in the food bank, and they thought he was a customer. They said, come on in. Take some of that cheese. Get some canned goods. So I don't know that we're doing a good enough job of explaining to people what's out there for them. And if we can all get our arms around each other a little bit in business and in the social world, we're going to make it through this. Yeah. Let's face it. What choice do we have?
Amen.
What are we all going to do? Quit?
Right.
What, are we going to stop having weddings?
Yep.
People going to stop dancing?
No.
People not going to need Barbara to make sure everything's fine? The fairy godmother? No, it's going to be okay. So that's
thank you, Ray.
That's my story. We're gonna get there, and we're not gonna get there by themselves. That's for sure.
Oh, we love Ray. You're the best, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, so good, Ray Caddell. So good. Thank you so much for joining us. How about Barbara? You dot the I's and cross the T's on Ray Caddell.
Well, and he would agree with us too. We need to get this information out to our colleagues who have questions for the Virginia Health Department.
Right.
That number to call is 877-ASK-VDH3. 877-ASK-VDH3. So it's 877-275-8343. And they're very nice. And so be nice back. Everyone be nice. Just be nice. And we'll get through this.
You got some comments coming in.
Yeah.
Andre Xavier.
Hi, Andre.
CVille Travel. Of course, CVille Hop on Tours. We are only allowing 75% capacity of our buses for weddings, so my 55-passenger bus now only carries 40 people. Couples are freaking out now if they have to add more buses to accommodate the same number of guests.
Right, and there goes the budget. I mean, we're all crunching the budget. Everyone's crunching the budget, so it's hard. It's hard. There's lots of things to freak out over. And, you know, I have to deal with that couple too. But, you know, and they think that, they used to think, we'll take Uber, and no one wants to take Uber.
Right.
It's, even though Uber says, yes, you must wear a mask. Yes, we're going to clean. There's still that
Uncertainty.
Anxiety about it.
Sure. Bashir is watching.
Hi, Bashir.
Bashir says, the troubling thing is we agree with clients with certain numbers, and in spite of what's going on, they still want to stick to the original high number. I might have to cancel my next one because I don't feel comfortable doing it at that high number. So here's Bashir, who makes phenomenal food from Bashir's in the downtown mall, saying, I don't feel comfortable doing it, and they want it.
And we're all there. I'm very anxious about for everyone. It's just we're really on pins and needles about how it's going to go. So
Jacqueline Greiger's watching.
Hi, Jacqueline.
She's got some comments for you.
Yeah.
She says, all of these points are assuming an indoor space. Tenant spaces change the game because certificates of occupancy are different. Am I right about this?
Absolutely.
As a caterer, we have to adhere to the VDH rules, so that means 50% of the upper limit of 250, is what she's saying.
Right. And it's as I've been checking on venues, they're all doing a little bit different things. So I'm going to each venue to see what they're going to allow my bride to do. And I'm sure she's doing the same.
I think she is. The fabulous Frank Smith is watching.
Yes.
From Prime Time
Yeah.
Event Group. He says, guys, great show. People need to remember that this is not a public event, and when a bride and groom are in a room with only friends and family, people will be more comfortable to, quote, break distancing rules, end quote, because these aren't strangers. Regardless of what we are saying as vendors, these are people that know each other and they're friends.
And the health department has to understand
Right.
that
Because
when they're investigating a complaint, because one of those guests can look at a vendor and say, oh, they should be doing something different. They could go to that anonymous tracker and
it can be a family that lives in a house.
Family, just they could have a gripe on the bride. So I think I'll just have too many drinks and do something ugly. So the health department just has to be compassionate toward us as small business. I mean, look at this. They're not going after the big box stores.
Yeah.
They're not going after
They're not going after
the
Lowe's.
grocery stores.
I mean, look at
Right,
Lowe's.
no,
Lowe's is
no.
the most dangerous
Right.
place in Charlottesville, Virginia.
They're not forcing they're not coming down on the grocery stores for where there's food and making the employees wear masks. So don't come down on us as small business
Right.
again. Please.
Right.
Please. No.
Cindy Schoenberg's watching. Great show. Question for Barbara. How are rehearsal dinners being handled in restaurants? Are they still able to do them? Great question.
Great question. We haven't gotten to that yet.
Right?
Yeah.
I would think some of the restaurants that have the outside space will fare better with maintaining their rehearsal dinners than limited inside space
Right.
only.
to get to
You
that.
have a friend watching in Tampa, Florida, Lisa Ansu.
Ansu, yeah. That's
Hi,
the Lynn
Barbara.
high schooler. Yeah.
I'm watching from Tampa. I love your live shows. Deidre
She's great.
Smith Wilson says, hi, Barbara and Ray.
That's her right there.
That is her?
That's her.
In the
right
center?
there. That's Deirdre.
Deidre, that's you right there. You're a beautiful bride. Oh, my.
And Ray, that was Ray's wedding, too.
So
The
this
big
person
dress.
on the screen
That's
is
Deidre.
watching and commenting right
Yes,
now. This is the power of social media here. Donna Turner George. Nice to see you
she's in
live,
Hungary.
Barb. She's watching
She's
from
in
Hungary.
Hungary. She was the mother of the bride in January.
Nice to see you
She was
live,
like one of my
Barbara.
last weddings.
You are awesome, and this is a fantastic show.
Thank you, Donna.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Barbara Lundgren show, guys, airs Thursdays at 10:15 to, we'll call it 11:29 on the I Love CVille network, and it's because we had the fabulous Ray.
And we didn't get to the T-shirt.
Oh!
Oh, see,
We're-
this was your T-shirt.
Are we going to stand for
It's-
this?
This is for your Baptist roots.
Yes.
It's well with my soul.
It's well with my soul. So
You
I'm.
sang that song, right?
Yes.
Many times.
I was raised a strict Southern Baptist.
Right.
Sunday school and
it's
big
not
church.
all Baptist. It's
Sunday
they did-
dinner.
I know they sang that in the Baptist
Went
church.
to Catholic school and
Yeah.
grew up in a Jewish neighborhood. So I'm this religious mutt. I love that shirt.
It is well with my soul.
Yeah, it's well with my soul.
We
Can I
gotta
ask
have
you a
peace.
question?
Sure.
How are you doing? How's
How
the
am I
mental
doing?
health? How are you feeling right now?
I have a lot of friends who are just lifting me up, and I lift them up, and you're helping me a lot.
Good.
Keeping me going, giving me a goal here, and praying a lot, studying a lot, and getting through.
Yeah.
There's peace. I have a lot of peace.
Good.
Thanks for asking.
I should have asked to
Thanks
begin
for
with.
asking.
I should have asked to
well,
begin
you
with.
do. You always do.
Thank you.
I don't always have the right answer, but no, I have peace. And
Throw this to you, and we'll
Sure.
wind down with this. The community in totality has certainly come together, your colleagues. I'm feeling a temperature or a positive vibe that maybe was not there 30 days ago. Am I reading the tea leaves correctly here? And that you maybe are
Hopefully.
seeing a little bit of clarity, or is that a bad read?
You mean in the community?
Yeah, the vendors, the event planners, the musicians.
I think so. I mean, I said in the first show that when the going gets tough, these guys know how to fix it. I mean, and the rubber meets the road now. We will be showing what we know, and I wish someone could remember who had that, who told us we could fix the government, we could do anything if you just put the event planners together, the event community together, we could fix it all.
Not only are you guys
yeah.
entrepreneurs that will adapt to changing landscapes, but you're event planners who put out fires
We
for a living.
fix stuff.
You fix stuff.
We fix stuff. And it's because not only do we fix stuff, it's because we want to make people happy. There you go.
That was a heck of an answer right there. And a phenomenal way to close this program. Give Barbara Lundgren some props by liking and sharing the show. Her program airs Thursdays at 10:15 a.m. on the I Love CVille network. You killed
Thanks
it.
for social distancing with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. and,
Absolutely. I should have suggested
don't miss
this
the mask.
earlier.
Yeah. I thought
Because
about it this morning, too.
You have, okay, I'm going to embarrass you a little bit here.
Uh-oh.
You're a very, very, very pretty lady.
Oh, thank you.
Okay?
That's
you
great
have,
for an old lady to hear.
we should be showing your face. And on top of that, I noticed the last time, let's cut it. It was a little uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think I had it upside down. I don't know. But anyway.
You killed this today.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you.
She's
Yeah.
Barbara Lundgren, guys, of Barb Wired. She is absolutely phenomenal. And the mission she's trying to do is to showcase you guys, the fabulous, fabulous, fabulous people in the wedding and event industry, not only in Charlottesville, but across Central Virginia and the Commonwealth. Give Barbara Lundgren some props next time you see her. A high five. Well, maybe not a high five. An elbow.
Elbow. Yeah.
An elbow. She's an
Or kick.
amazing lady. So next week, are we maybe fireworks?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Because we can't wait.
Yeah, I know. We'll
I know
get
you
there.
can't wait,
we'll
too.
Get there. Yeah.
This
we'll
is
let you know.
This is the Virginia Wedding and Event Showcase, guys, on the I Love CVille network, presented by Keswick Vineyards and Barb Wired. You guys enjoy your Thursday. Good job, Barbara. Nicely done. And we made the transition.
Yeah.
Work with the computer.
Almost. Oh, good. Good.
Nicely
good,
done,
good,
Judah.
Good. Thank you.